As I begin my sermon, I want to invite Cadence and Mila up front here. They're going to help me at the beginning part here. All right, so we're going to talk about pressure today and how pressure, when it's done in the right way, in the right context, can be good. We live in a world of pressure, and whether we're talking about our physical universe or our responsibilities, we have pressure everywhere. And so I brought with me today a few tomatoes. All right, nice red juicy tomato that's got juice from another tomato. That's gross. But so I've got some tomatoes, and we're going to try to take these tomatoes and make them as such that they could be used to put on a sandwich. Do you like tomatoes on your sandwich?
Yes.
Oh, well, I didn't at your age, so that's great. Good job, parents. But so in order to do this, we have to put pressure on the tomatoes. And so Mila is going to have a nice butter knife to try to cut the tomato. While Cadence is going to have, I don't know what it's called, but it's a actual sharp-looking knife. So just take it out of the sleeve when we're ready to cut the tomato. And I am not going to have a knife. Oh, I know, awesome, right? Okay, so Mila, choose the tomato you want. That was a wise choice. Cadence, which one? Oh, yeah, mixing up a little bit. Okay, all right, so we're going to try to cut the tomato in a slice to put on a sandwich, okay? I just need one slice. So pick up your knives, get ready. This is not timed, so I was making it sound like you got to rush on this. So do not rush with knives. All right, cut the tomato and see if you can get a nice slice that can be used to put a... Well, no, that's just the top of the tomato. Now you got to make the slice. Now you got to... All right, so hold up your tomato. Oh, nice. Oh, good job. All right, Caden, or Mila, hold up your tomato. Oh, nice. And here is my nice tomato. So, yeah, woo! I told you I was going to be the silly one, didn't I? So they were nervous with it. All right, thank you, girls, for that help. You can go back and say it with your parents. So everyone give them a nice round of applause. Yeah, I got it. You just leave the knife there. So again, my point is the fact that I've got towels if you need to wipe off your hands, I guess. I should have offered that. So you're a little cleaner than I was. But the point that I was trying to make is that pressure done in the right way and in the right context can be good. But when it's not in the right context, or it's not in the right way, or both, it becomes bad. I literally destroyed that tomato. Unless you're making like ketchup or tomato sauce, what I did to that tomato ruined the tomato. And so it wasn't any good. But we as people, we experience pressure in all sorts of things and in all sorts of ways. And it's important we recognize that. And as I said, we have pressure in our physical world. We have pressure with our responsibilities. And pressure in some ways can be good, but in some ways can be bad. But whatever you're going through today, I think there's a central truth that revolves around Jesus that's important for us to remember, is that Jesus can deliver because he has in the past. Jesus has shown up in the past to get us through whatever we were going through, which gives us the confidence to know that he can show up again, that he can get us through whatever is in front of us. But we have to start with recognizing who God is and the mission he has called us to fulfill, which I think we can draw from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, as Paul is writing to the Corinthians, and he is giving them insight as to who God is and what that means for how they are to live. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, starting in verse 6, he says, For God, who said, "Let there be light in the darkness," has made this light shine in our hearts, so that we could know the glory of God that is seen in Jesus Christ. We now have this light shining in our hearts, but we are like fragile clay jars containing this great treasure. This makes it clear that our great power is from God, not ourselves. So as Paul is getting ready to give them some more instructions to persevere through difficult times, he starts with who God is. He says, God is the creator. He created light. Everything that exists because God created it. And nothing accidentally got created. Sometimes we can feel like we're a mistake or something of that nature, but you are not a mistake. You are created intentionally by God. Everything that exists is created intentionally by God. And Paul is using the concept of God creating light to drive this point home. Before God, there was nothing. When God spoke, things came into existence. He said, let there be light. And there was light. And it's always interesting to think about what that was like beforehand. Because we have this contrast between light and darkness. And on some ways, they're not opposites necessarily, because darkness is just the absence of light. You can't get any darker. It's not like darkness actually comes. It's just as light is removed. But before God spoke, there was no light. It was just utter darkness, except for God himself. Now, if you go to the end of the Bible and the end of Revelations, and it talks about the new heavens and the new earth, it actually says the sun and the moon aren't going to shine because God's glory is that magnificent. It's going to illuminate everything just because of who God is. And this is what God put in us. Those who are followers of Jesus have this light in them. Now, this light that God gives those who trust and follow Jesus is not to be hoarded, it's not to be contained, it's to be shared. It's to shine to others. Because even though God created and he created light, when God created, it was good. But sin came into the world, distorted it, and basically corrupted the world so that now evil and darkness come into this world. So Jesus' light is inside his followers so that this light can shine and that the darkness doesn't have to be the reality anymore. There's something greater. But we have to be careful that we don't allow arrogance to creep into us. When we talk about the light of Jesus inside of us, it's not one of those things where we're better than other people. Well, I have the light of Jesus. I am superior to someone else. When Paul talks about the fragile clay jars, that's a reminder to be humble, to make sure that we don't have arrogance in our lives, that we are these clay jars. And clay jars are interesting. We don't use them as much as they used to in Paul's day, but they're very prevalent. And one of the things that, as Paul is writing, is clay jars were very common. Everyone had them. They were used for all sorts of things. And part of the reason they were common is the fact that the resource was easily accessible. I mean, you can go down the river and get clay today. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it. You can find clay pretty easily in our natural world. But because of that, it's inexpensive. It's cheap. The materials are easily accessible, and it's not expensive to produce. So everyone had it. Clay jars are, as Paul says, are also fragile. That because of the way they're made, they break easily. And since they are common and cheap, if it breaks, you just throw it away and get a new one. So Paul's saying that's how we are. We are fragile. We are not special. We are not unique. It's only Jesus in us that makes us special. So it's not about you. He makes sure that we get that arrogance out of us. Not because Paul is wanting us to make us feel bad about ourselves, but because he doesn't want us to be superior. Because we are, as Paul would say, weak. And it's God in us who makes us strong. It's his ability that allows us to do anything. But we live in this world of pressure. We live in this world, even though we know God is creator, that we endure certain things and difficulties, and pressure, again, done in the right way and in the right context, can be beneficial. So I'm going to have Scott and Roy is going to come up and help me with this next illustration. All right. You know, I was told this table was specifically placed, so That means I got to move it, I guess. But, all right, so we're going to drill screws into this board. Okay? All right, Scott, it's a drill. Roy's seen it before, so. All right, so Roy, I want you, Roy's going to start. You're going to screw one of those screws into the board without touching the board. Oh, didn't work, did it? It's not, the board's moving, isn't it? Scott, let me see you try. Let me see you try. You can't touch the board. Does it work?
Kind of.
Kind of. Now let's see if we put pressure on the board. Push harder. Push harder. There we go. Hey, okay, Roy, let's see if you can do it. Yay, there you go. Okay, all right. Good job, guys. All right, so now we're going to do something different here. Okay, I'm going to have you guys hold the boards, and I'm going to put these two together, okay? So, Scott, I need you to hold right here. And, Roy, I need you to grab right there. If you can get both hands around it, that'd be great. Are you holding hard? Holding tight? Okay, all right, so let's see if I can screw this board in now. What happened? It got wider. It pushed it apart because the pressure wasn't there. Now, let's take it apart. Oh, I forgot my clamp, so hopefully this will work. So now if we put pressure up here, you guys hold back there, I hold back up here. When we put pressure in the right spot and the right way, we can get this to work. Now, once another one is already in, it goes in pretty easily. All right? You see, so if we don't put pressure in the right spot in the right way, it's not going to work properly. Thank you, guys. You guys can go down and... So again, just another little illustration to show how pressure is important. If we don't have pressure in the right place and the right time, we're going to have results that we don't necessarily want. And so Paul is writing to the Corinthians saying, hey, this is who God is. But then he continues and he says, we are pressed on every side by troubles, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but we are not driven to despair. We are hunted down, but we are never abandoned by God. We are knocked down, but we are not destroyed. And so he had said four things of what we're going through. And the first one is that we are pressed down on every side with all these troubles. Maybe you don't feel that right now, but I'm confident you've probably felt that before. You felt like the world is just out against you. That you're pressed down on every side. You've got all these responsibilities, all these requirements, everything you have to do. You've got all these things, and you just can't ever seem to catch a break. You know, pressure comes from everything. It comes from home, comes from work, comes from your hobbies, comes from your family, comes from the government, comes from the world, comes from this random person on social media that's blasting you for whatever reason. It comes from all of these types of things. We get pressure. But no matter what comes our way, Jesus can deliver because he has delivered in the past. I know he can deliver. I know whatever I'm going through, whatever pressure, whatever thing is in my life, Jesus can deliver because he's delivered in the past. And sometimes we don't necessarily know why, and so Paul goes on to saying we are perplexed or we are confused. I imagine there are times in your life where you've said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to move forward. I don't know the next steps to take. I don't know the path that I should choose. Whether we're talking about, a broken relationship, whether we're talking about a career or buying a home or a car, I just don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this situation. We have all these questions that arise in our life. Jesus has delivered in the past, so I know he can deliver in the future. And with this, we can come to Jesus and know that he provides a certain level of certainty. And I say certain level, Jesus provides certainty, but that doesn't mean it provides all the answers in the exact way that we want it to. Jesus provides certainty that we know what the future holds because of him. So even if we experience persecution, even if we are hunted down, as the Apostle Paul so vividly writes, we know that Jesus can deliver. Now, I use the word deliver. Deliver is kind of layered. It's not as though Jesus is going to deliver us in the exact way, in the exact time that we want. And we can think of our world today, and the situations in Afghanistan have highlighted things that happen around the world consistently anyway, of how Christians are consistently in positions where their life is in danger. They know what it means to be hunted down. Now, in our world, in our country, in the United States, we don't know what it means to be hunted down in the same context. But we still know and experience persecution. We still encounter obstacles and harassment and things that try to pull us away from the faith. I talked earlier about our air conditioning not working. Talk about a first world problem, right? I mean, that's what it is, but it can be distracting. When we get used to certain comforts, it can slowly and subtly get our eyes away from Jesus, distract us in different levels. But regardless of what we're going through, whether it's big, whether it's small, we face discouragement. But I find encouragement from Romans chapter 5, verse 8, where Paul writes, "But God showed his great love for us by sending Christ to die for us while we were still sinners." So Paul says, we may be hunted down, but God has not abandoned us. And we can draw off Romans 5:8. Jesus wouldn't have died for you if he was going to abandon you. He wouldn't have wasted his time, gone through all that agony and pain just to say, you know what, I don't care about you. Jesus knew you were a sinner, and yet he still died for you because he loves you, he wants you, and he will never abandon or forsake you. And then Paul uses the last one. It says, we are knocked down, but we are not destroyed. There are some times where we just feel like we get punch after punch. We get knocked down. We take blow after blow. We say, why? Why does God allow this? Why is God not giving me a break? Why is God allowing this to continue to happen? Doesn't God know our limits? It's hard to persevere when you encounter those times. And even if you aren't encountering those times right now, I'm confident you have in the past. You've asked hard questions. Why is God allowing this? Why can't this happen? Why doesn't God step in this way? And I don't have the answer to that, but I do have an answer that can get us through. And it's, I believe Jesus can deliver because Jesus has delivered in the past. Because he keeps doing it. He's done it time and time again. But I do recognize we're all different. So I'm going to have Tate and Daniel come forward. Where'd Daniel go?
You may have to get him. He's probably hiding.
Daniel, you have to say yes in improv, so this is improv. Is Daniel here?
I'm sure he's hiding.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to have... Let's have tyranny. We'll have siblings with that. So if... Okay, all right. Do you know what you're doing? All right, you guys can sit down. Okay, all right. We're going to take some blood pressure, okay? Have you ever had your blood pressure done before? Yeah. So, okay, all right. Hold that real quick. Put your arm in this. Hopefully the nurses in the room aren't critiquing my ability here because it's not very good. Okay, all right. All right, so Tate's going to take his blood pressure here. You can hold that now again. And what I'm trying to highlight here is the fact that we're all different, but yet we recognize our vascular system is dependent upon the right amount of pressure. That if we don't have enough pressure, oxygen and nutrients don't get to our body as they should, and bad things can happen. If we have too much pressure, okay, remember that number. Don't say it out loud, all right? It's like a card trick. But did you see it? Okay, have you had your blood pressure done before? Okay, all right. Let's put your arm in there. Can you hold this for me? Thank you. Did you remember those numbers? Okay. All right. So, but if our blood pressure is too high, then doctors get concerned. It can cause extra stress in our bodies. Is it going? Okay. But what I'm trying to highlight here is we have siblings. Say, what are you? 2 years, 3 years apart, somewhere in there? Two. Okay. All right. So even though they are close in age, have the same parents, and have a similar lifestyle, eat similar foods, I assume, that their blood pressure is going to be different. Is her blood pressure different than yours? Yep. All right. So do you feel fine? Do you feel good? You feel healthy? Ready to take on life, seize the day, that type of stuff? Yep. You look real excited about this. So even though they're different, thank you. You guys can go sit down. Yeah, give them a hand. Even though they are different, they're still healthy. And sometimes I think we view our faith as this cookie cutter mentality that we're trying to get. We all have to look exactly the same way. But when you're talking about your blood pressure, for you to maintain a healthy blood pressure might be different than somebody else. The diet and exercise that you have to do, whether you're talking about age or gender or anything, even if you're the same, even if someone is similar age, similar life setting as you, your blood pressure might be different. And there are different requirements that we have. And so Paul is writing knowing that we are different, knowing that Jesus has delivered, and he can deliver in the future, but yet we never get to a point where our stress goes away. We never get to a point where we've arrived, so we continue to figure out what it means to live in this pressure-filled world for Jesus. But I do want to pause for a moment, because I have never reached a point in my life where my pressure has gone down. And what I mean by that is we've all had seasons that are worse than others, but the pressure that I experienced in high school was more than what I experienced in junior high. The pressure I experienced in college was more than I experienced in high school, and so on and so forth. And I don't know if there gets a point in life where pressure starts to go away or lessen. I'm guessing not. I'm guessing we'll always find new things to have pressure in our lives, new things that can cause us to have frustrations or discouragement or get our eyes taken off of Jesus. But regardless of what we're going through, our suffering, this pressure that we may experience does not have to be in vain. Because Paul talks about, after he says, we are knocked down, but we are not destroyed. He says, through suffering, our bodies continue to share in the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus will be evident in our bodies. Yes, we live in constant danger of death because we serve Jesus, so that the life of Jesus will be evident in our dying bodies. So we live in the face of death, but this has brought eternal life. Death and suffering are not something people really run to experience. People don't long to experience it. We live in a world where self-denial is seen in an extremely negative light. People don't want to delay gratification. If it feels good, go for it. There's no problem. Just do it if it feels good. Now, Paul is talking about a new way of life that is through Jesus. That is something different than what the world sees, what the world longs for. He's talking about denying ourselves. Because Jesus' death didn't bring death. It brought life. It brought newness. It brought redemption. And Paul is calling us to share in this death of Jesus, not so that we will die, not so that we will just live a miserable life, but so that we will experience life, so that we will experience redemption and restoration. So when we think about our present suffering, anything that's going on in our lives that's just negative, if we view it in light of Jesus, then we can view it in a way of the life of Jesus can be seen in whatever I'm going through. Now, Paul is specifically talking about suffering, about the sacrifices we need to make. But you know, the life of Jesus can be seen even in the good times in your life. Regardless of what you're going through, the life of Jesus can be seen. But when you're going through something difficult, Paul is telling us Jesus can deliver because he has delivered in the past. So I wonder, how is Jesus evident in your life? Now, maybe you're going through a difficult time right now. And the biggest thing you can do is just hope. But I'm telling you what, if we have the hope of Jesus, that's life-changing. If we have the hope of Jesus, that is, people who see that say, well, that's different. We can have the phrase every once in a while, say, I don't know what I would have done without Jesus in my life. What a powerful story. You know, people who don't know Jesus don't have that story. Say, well, I just found a way to cope. Well, we don't cope. We have something greater. We can hope in Jesus. See, if Jesus is evident in our lives, nothing you go through is in vain. The glory of God can be seen through it. The life of Jesus can be revealed through it. But when we take Jesus out of the equation and do it ourselves, then it becomes depressing. It becomes discouraging. And it creates so much pressure in our lives that it's hard to function. Now, Paul is not talking about subjecting ourselves to pressure in all ways and all times. It's the right pressure in the right context in the right way can be beneficial. I've got another piece of illustration that I'm going to use here. A balloon. Yep, kids, you can come up. I've got these kids are going to help me a little bit with this. Stand over here. Stand over here. Oh, yeah, Olivia, can you pick that up? All right, grab a stick. Okay. All right, so as they get ready, you know, this is a balloon. Nothing special about this balloon. And I'm sure there might be purposes. Hopefully I brought enough. Oh, here's enough. If I don't have enough sticks, it's okay. A balloon that has no air in it doesn't really fulfill a purpose. There may be some type of purpose that it can fill, but really there's nothing good for it at the moment. It wasn't created just to sit like this. But too many of us, I think, just want to have a balloon like this. Well, there's air in there, but it didn't hurt. It didn't stretch us. It didn't move us any, but there's air. And there's a lot of us that just function this way of, well, that's good enough. We've got air. We got something. But we don't settle just for something. We want Jesus to be fully in us, and so we've got to be stretched. And it may hurt, and it might reshape us. So we got a balloon here. Yeah, a lot of hot air. Thank you for that. But, all right, so one thing I found about balloons is, balloons are made to be, they may be decorations, but balloons are made to be hit. And it's fun. All right, so everyone, I want you I want you to hold with this end up. Okay? Did you take a balloon? Okay. All right. So there you go. Everyone, we can stand over here, and we're going to hit the balloon for a little bit. Everyone over here, right over here. Everyone right over here. Okay. So now we don't run around. Let's form a circle. Form a circle. Everyone form a circle. Gabe right here. Okay. All right. So everyone just hit it back and forth a little bit. Well, back and forth.
Don't touch the ground. Get it, Gabe.
Okay. All right. So it's fun. We can hit it with that. You can hit it with your hand. You can do all these types of things. Get a little chaotic here. What would happen if I hit it with this?
Everyone pop. It will pop. Really?
I got. Here, can you take this one? Here, hold on. Hold on. I'll give you this balloon in a minute, okay? All right. Hey, you guys can go sit down, and I'll give you this balloon in a minute. You guys go sit down. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your help. So, yeah, I'll give it to you in a minute, okay? Here, you can take that one too. You give that to your mom. Well, we'll talk after church. So one thing, this is the same type of balloon, and I don't remember where we got these balloons, but I tried my best to blow this up and pop it, and it just wouldn't. I didn't have enough lung capacity to do it. And as I was blowing it up, there's a pack of 50 or so, and most of them were about the size that I made earlier. I was surprised at how far the balloon could stretch. And as I thought about that, I said, I wonder how many times we say that same about ourselves spiritually. I was surprised at how much Jesus could stretch me. But remember, when we're talking about pressure, it's not just pressure, that all pressure we want, because pressure done in the wrong way, in the wrong context, is detrimental. Paul's not talking about just finding pressure. He's saying, how can Jesus stretch us? How can Jesus get us to where he needs us to be? Because regardless of what you're going through, I believe Jesus can deliver you because he's done it in the past. So you may feel like you are stretched beyond capacity. As long as we're that clay vessel that's got Jesus inside of us, then we're right where we need to be. So I want to challenge you with that today. Some of you are probably having a great time in life right now. Some of you are probably struggling, whether we're talking about discouragement, trying to find our way, whatever that is. Jesus is stretching us so that we can fulfill the purposes that he has given us. But Jesus didn't stretch us just because he thought it would be fun. He's stretching us because he loves us. He's stretching us because he knows the best for us. And with that, we can trust Jesus because Jesus laid his life down for us. We're going to take communion here in just a minute. And thinking about what Jesus did, while I was still a sinner, Jesus died for me. Not so I could live a comfortable life that has great air conditioning, but so that I could be stretched, so that I could be filled with his light, so that the sin and evil and darkness in the world doesn't have to be my reality, that I can move to something greater and deeper, not because of me, but because of Jesus. I can be pressed down. I can be perplexed. I could be hunted down. I could be all sorts of things and knocked down. But Jesus has never abandoned me. He provides a way, and he makes it so that I can be victorious through him.